yes, and perhaps there's no more exciting time of year than now if you are a toy collector or a Transformers collector specifically, because we have entered convention season when we get all of the news, rumors, and most importantly, reveals. And already on the channel we've sort of talked about the two sides of the coin as it relates to the recently announced HasLab Unicron, but the focus today is specifically going to be on the world of third-party Transformers figures and everything that was showcased at the recent TFCon Toronto 2019. Additionally, I'm also going to talk about how what we saw and what was shown is sort of a potential commentary on where the future of third-party collecting might just be going. All of it is going to be our focus this time in the latest GotBot True Review. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, please like, comment, share, and of course subscribe them while you're at it. That's right, hit the notification bell. It will let you know every time there's new content going up, whatever that may be, from stop motions to reviews to countdowns to anything else. Check out Machinery of Man, the Everything Factor, Transformers Collectors NL, and the Autobot family. And wow, what a time of year it is to be a Transformers fan. Now, recently I talked about both sides of the coin as it relates to the HasLab Unicron. That deserved its own discussion. Today I'm specifically going to focus on TFCon. There's going to kind of be a third part of our reveals discussion recently, and that's going to come up, and that's going to be everything else that was showcased at SDCC. But since this is the TFCon discussion, let's sort of jump into it because it's very interesting what was shown. Interesting in that we did, of course, get some new pieces, but interesting also in what wasn't shown and what this says about the future of third-party collecting for our fan base. So let's jump right off and begin with the world of 3A. I've only ever seen their Bumblebee in hand, and like, it's impressive to look at. It's an impressive looking piece. It's definitely well made and well articulated. It's non-transforming. They showed off their Bumblebee, which again looked spectacular. You need to be in for that high-end kind of ultra movie accurate aesthetic and that, you know, that look. It's cool for what it is, I guess. We also had Banana Force on hand with their non-transforming iteration of RID Optimus Prime and something that they're calling, I believe, like Great Armor. I don't know what that's supposed to be in relation to. I don't remember. Something from RID 2001. It does combine with their Optimus. Neither of it is like fully transformable into a alt mode, I don't think. I think they're just figures, but like, again, it's cool, but we've seen that Optimus before. I believe we saw it last year, and is it even out yet? They also showed off maybe a tease of a like big, I guess, non-transformable version of Die Atlas. Looks really nice. I don't know if there's a market for a non-transformable Die Atlas or not, but I'll give credit where credit is due. I think it looks nice, and it was a new figure to be shown off. I don't know. I like it for what it is. Again, HTB Toys, and I can't remember what HTB stands for, showed off a couple of interesting things. One was an upgrade kit for the Jin Bao version of Gravity Builder, and it had a couple of like extra bits and pieces in it. That's cool. They also showed off and I thought this was interesting. I don't know if it will appeal to both fan bases or to neither and just be like a weird oddity. That's cool. But it's a sound wave that transforms into a G.I. Joe Hiss tank and will come with a little driver, a little minifigure driver, and a little minifigure Destro. I think it's really cool. I don't know if it's for me. I don't know if Joe collectors would be behind it or not, but I think it's cool. We saw like a colored Hiss tank and whatnot. We saw a couple of images, but I'd like to see a colored robot of Soundwave as well. And the Hiss tank image we saw, I'm not sure if that was just a Hiss tank or if it was Soundwave as a Hiss tank. I'm not 100% clear on that. Nevertheless, it's a cool concept, if nothing else. Non-F Productions were there showing their, I guess, add-ons for the Sideswipe Siege figure with the shoulder cannon and I think just like a regular blaster, and then the G2 version of Sideswipe that's going to be in that Alpha Strike counter force set or whatever it is, and it's like an ammo belt, I guess, and a whole bunch of blasters, like 2 separate shoulder blasters, 2 hand blasters. He's really armed up. And there was also from Nanif on display the null rays that go with Siege Starscream. They're nice. I mean, if you don't like the stock null rays that came with Siege Starscream, this is certainly an option for you, and I like Nanif's products, so it's nice to see that they were showing something. That being said, I believe these are not so much new items as things that are already offered to the public. New Age was on hand with their little balls of joy, and I say little balls of joy because their figures are really small. Their Ratchet, their Ironhide looked spectacular. I love the look of them. Now, again, they're going to be tiny, and that's going to fit some people. I feel like the New Age stuff fits for the mini bots, especially if you have a Legends display. Like if you have like a Legends, I'm saying Legends scaled, Optimus Prime or something like that from, I don't know, from Iron Factory, and you want like a scaled Bumblebee. The New Age Bumblebee is fantastic for that. Nevertheless, some people like all of these little guys, and I can't argue with you because, like I said, their Ironhide and their Ratchet look spectacular. They also have a black Ironhide. I'm not really sure what the appeal is of the black Ironhide. I think that's a Diaclone throwback, if I'm not mistaken. They showed off play sets, which I thought were interesting. An Arc Terminal, an Arc Chair, and a Throne. I assume that they're meant to scale with their own line of figures. I don't know exactly. They look cool, but I'm not exactly sure what line they're intended to actually go with. That being said, that's not all that New Age had on display. There was also their Insecticons, kind of shown in 2 versions. One is pretty animation accurate. The other is clear. Like I get the chest is toy accurate, but I don't know why the rest of it is clear. I don't know. I don't know. They look good. They're going to be tiny. I feel like some of this we've seen before. Like I feel like we've seen the Ironhide and Ratchet before, and I feel like we've seen even the kind of play sets before. Maybe we haven't. Maybe they were new. But I think the Insecticons are new. Maybe. I don't know. Like it's nice. It's cool. I think New Age had one of the better showings of the entire show. That being said, trying to not be outdone was Iron Factory, and they showed off their DJD, which is fine, but we've seen that before. There was nothing new with their DJD. It was just they were showing them off again, displayed nicely and whatnot, I guess. Okay, whatever. Aren't they all out? Maybe they're the pre-order stage, but like I don't think they're like a new reveal. Neither's Optics Hunter, their Hound, or Hex Wrench, their Wheeljack, or One Man Army, their weird Cliff Jumper. I don't even know what the alt mode is inspired from. Comics maybe? I don't know. And Sonic Wave, their Sound Wave, which is fine, but like none of this I don't think from Iron Factory is new. Maybe the Sound Wave, but like it didn't, if it's new, it didn't feel new to me. Like it felt like something I've seen before, you know? And maybe I didn't, but that's the way it felt. Maybe because it was next to so many things I have seen before. And finally, they showed off their Heat Dragon, which is like Dragon Beast Wars Megatron, and their City Commander, which is their Ultra Magnus. They look great, but again, I feel like I've seen them before. Maybe I haven't, but again, if it's new, it didn't feel new. Maybe because you were mixing new reveals so much with stuff I've already seen. Like, they're good figures, they're fine figures, but nothing popped and really made me go, oh, wow, from Iron Factory. I like their figures, but I would have liked to have seen something, I don't know, that really caught my attention, I suppose. And it's not even that what, you know, up to this point we've seen was bad. It's not. It's just a lot of it I feel like we've already seen before, so it was nothing to kind of knock your socks off. Moving on, however, we also heard from Planet X with their Ironhide and their Ratchet for the Fall of Cybertron video game inspired line that they have become well known for. They've stuck with the road that they started on, which is that Fall of Cybertron aesthetic, and they've been knocking it out of the ballpark. I think that both Ratchet and Ironhide look fantastic. I assume that they're mold brothers, though they do look a little bit unique. And then I believe it was Planet X who also showed off, and I could be wrong about this, but I believe they also showed off what's being called a World War I Optimus Prime. That to me looked kind of like a War Within Optimus. I think it was a War Within Optimus. But we already got a really good War Within Optimus a little while ago do we really need another one? Or maybe it's an Armada Optimus. But I think it's War Within. I don't know. Like, it's cool, but I don't know if there's a big enough market to warrant them doing it when we already had that other good one from, I don't know. You guys probably know. Spark Toys? Was it Spark Toys that done that really cool War Within Optimus? I think that's what it was. I don't know. Whatever company done it, I don't even think they're around anymore. So maybe there is a market for it. Actually, I think that Optimus was actually from Civil Warrior, which is a different company, new company, which I think is probably the same company as Trans Project X, I think it's called, where they're doing an Optimus Primal. Always thought it was line work. I don't know. I mean, the line work is really detailed. Let's see what happens when you got more than the line. Like, why are you bothering to show off the line work? You're obviously very early in the planning stage for this. It's cool to kind of tease it. It's cool to show the line work. Let's see if anything actually ever comes of it. By the way, I think those last two companies are probably the same company, but I really don't know for sure. And then we get to Fans Toys. Everybody loves Fans Toys, and like, guys, I get it. We have the die-hard Fans Toys collectors out there, and they're probably going to be really happy because there was a lot of things showing off, and I feel like there's been a real kind of issue, discussion, whatever, within that fan base that the company has teased a whole lot of stuff and not really delivered. Even though they have made a lot of releases, there's a lot that they've teased that has never seen the light of day, probably because a lot of that had to be redesigned. Case in point, they showed off their new Blitzwing. Looks pretty great, but it is markedly different than what they had before for their Blitzwing. So did they go back right to the drawing board, and it's only now that they're getting those designs together? Probably. They also showed off their Acoustic Man, their version of Soundwave, and the cassettes. I don't like it. The torso seems off. The chest seems really small to me. When they show the artwork of the alt mode, it looks more like a washing machine than the cassette deck to me, because that chest seems small. But the cassettes all look fantastic. I feel like the cassettes are stronger than Acoustic Man himself. And the argument could be made that if it's a masterpiece scaled version of Soundwave, do we really need one? Because most people seem pretty gosh darn happy with the official MP Soundwave that's also getting a reissue. So I don't know if there's really a market for this one or not. I guess a lot of it will boil down to A, your loyalty to Fans Toys as a company, and B, whether or not you like the aesthetic better than the official masterpiece. By the way, I think there was also a tease of a mold reuse for Blaster. That would make sense. There was also, I think, a tease for Cliff Jumper and Huffer. Cool, good. I think it was Cliff Jumper and Huffer. Yeah, it was. The Blitzwing I already mentioned. And then the oddity of oddities, Spindrift 2.0. Didn't their Sea Spray like just come out like really recently? I must be missing something because I don't understand why there's a 2.0 already. I don't know what's different about it. I'll say this: he looks like more burly and bulky than he looks tubby, with his belly being the way it is. I think it's molded and sculpted nicely. Was there a problem with the first one? I don't know. You guys would know better than me if you're a Fans Toys fan. Let me know, because I'm really not sure why there was a second version of that character done when there was only one so very recently. Jiang Zhang was on hand with their Dragon Megatron again. I feel like that's the only thing we've seen from this company, and I feel like, shouldn't we have this by now? Do we have this by now? Has this been released yet? And if it is released, why are you showing it again? If it's not released, then you're just showing us the same thing you showed us last year. There's not much new. Nothing, really. Fans Hobby was also on hand with their Lightning Eagle, their version of Thunder Clash. I think it's an MP Thunder Clash. I don't know, is there a market for an MP Thunder Clash? Like, it's cool to do it, but I feel like it's really risky. Now, that being said, I'll give Fans Hobby credit where credit is due. They're no stranger to taking a risk and choosing characters that aren't done by everybody else. So, you know what? Maybe there is a market for this Thunder Clash. But I think there's going to be a bigger market for their Athena, who is, I believe, Minerva. And Minerva has a rabid fan base. So I think that that's a really both bold and smart choice for Fans Hobby to go with. Looks fantastic. That's not the only thing we have, however, on display. We have a black version of their God armor. I guess, you know, you always got to do that. Evil repaint, you know, it is what it is. Of course, the regular version of their God armor, and what looked like an Armada Prime. I don't know if maybe there's a market for that. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm not, admittedly, it's not something that's on my radar. But it was new, and I'll give credit where credit's due. While we've seen the kind of like God armor upgrades a couple of times now, I think, at least I have, it was nice to see like their Minerva a little bit more, and it was nice to see their Armada Prime. I think that's something new. I didn't see it before, so it was new to me. Transbots were on hand, or I assume it's X-Transbots. They had G2 repaints of their Breakdown and their Drag Strip. Okay. I don't know. I've seen reviews on both Breakdown and Drag Strip. They're all right, I guess. If you're in for another Menasor, they're fine. I feel like their Drag Strip has a few bits and pieces on it that maybe it didn't really need, and only sort of adds to the hassle a little bit. And he's not quite as clean on the back as Breakdown, but like they're fine figures. Really, though, for them to show this off, it's, do you want them in those weird G2 colors? You know, do you want like a purple and teal Breakdown, and do you want a mostly black Drag Strip? If you do, great, they're going to be offered to you. If you don't, then there was really nothing here for you. Then we had Professor Heisenberg, who we don't see all the time, but when we do, it's usually an impact. Except this time. They showed some blades that you can give to MP36. Okay? Here's the thing. Somewhere along the way, it's become really popularized that Megatron has this big sword, and I don't know why. I don't ever remember him with a big sword. I'm sure it existed somewhere, and I'm just forgetting, but it's not something that ever stood out to me. I don't know if we need an add-on kit for it. I don't know. Maybe. Maybe it looks cool. I'll give it that. Ocular Max showed off what they had, and the first kind of 4 things they showed off were the Autobot cassettes. They look great. They've done a tremendous job with the Decepticon ones. I'm sure the Autobot ones will be just as tremendous, I have no doubt. Then they showed off the cage. Yeah, it's the cage that Ravage was in. I don't know. Like, do you really need to make any fanfare for the cage that Ravage was in, you know, that one time in that one episode? I don't know. Maybe. They also showed off, of course, their Zinnia, which is the RC mold. I think it was a con exclusive. Medic, is it supposed to be like the Medic version of RC? I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what it is. It looks fine. They had a couple of other things there. One was a guy named Impetus, and the other was a guy named Fraudo, or Fraudo. Basically, it's Vortex and Swindle. I guess they're doing a Bruticus. It's cool. Do we need another Bruticus? I feel like we've got... You know, it's the same argument like with the Menasor from earlier from X-Trans. Do we need another Menasor? How many Menasors are there? How many Bruticuses are there? They look nice, I guess. Although, that being said, I feel like there's a yellow mismatch on Swindle from Ocular Max. Like, I feel like you can really tell the difference between the yellow plastic and the yellow paint. But maybe that was just the pictures I saw. I don't know. Like, it's fine. It's fine, I guess. And MMC's reformatted line really had, I believe, 3 things on it. One was a version of who I think is supposed to be Outback, and the other is Brawn. The alt mode is really weird, very Cybertronian-esque. Almost, it reminds me of like animated Ironhide. Like the alt mode reminds me of whatever that thing was. And I think they showed a Shattered Glass Drift, if I'm not mistaken. Looks fine. Again, very Cybertronian-esque alt mode, which, I mean, that's cool. That's what reformatted goes for, so I think it's all right. Here's the thing. I didn't see anything from KFC Toys. I didn't see anything from Unique Toys. Nothing from DX9. I don't know. Who else wasn't on hand? Fans Project wasn't on hand. Are they ever anymore? I don't know. I feel like that we should have had more reveals than what we had. Like, there's a lot of companies very conspicuous by their absence. And what we did see had a mix of stuff we've seen before, sprinkled with a few things that we haven't seen before. And in some cases, things that were revealed, it just felt like more of the same. Like, for example, the Ocular Max, Vortex, and Swindle. I don't know if they've been shown before. It's the first time I've seen them. I don't follow it super closely. But when I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, okay, it's Vortex and Swindle. Big deal. Like, that was my reaction. Big deal. And as I looked down through everything that was revealed here, my thoughts about, like, it's fine, but that's all it was. It was fine. I feel like last year we had a lot of teases for a lot of stuff, a lot of things that still have not seen the light of day yet. And perhaps that brings us to our question. What do these reveals say about third-party collecting? Well, I think it depends on the context that you look at it in. First, we know that TFCon Toronto has expanded and there are different TFCons. I think there's one in DC, I think there's one in Virginia, maybe. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure where these are. Chicago? TFCon Chicago? I don't know. There's a couple in the US now. And maybe these companies, instead of doing all of their reveals at Toronto, which I think may have been the first one, maybe they're saving them all, or saving a lot of them for the various TFCons. So we're going to get, less reveals at this one because they're sharing them around. Maybe. Or it could be that these companies didn't show as much this time because a lot of them are still working on the things that they revealed last year or even earlier this year, and it was a matter of, well, we have to get the product out before we start revealing more new stuff because we've got a backlog of things that need to be produced and released first. Maybe we're just sort of like in that lull of we're into the production stage of things, not so much into the planning stage at the moment. Certainly not far enough along to show things off. So it might be interesting to see what does come. Or third, maybe third-party companies are just beginning to run out of steam and run out of ideas and run out of options. How many Menosaurs can you have? How many Brudicuses can you have? I love that Iron Factory has smaller DJD members. That's really cool. But I don't know, if I'm not mistaken, I think the whole team is already out and available to the public for sale. Same with their Hound. I thought that was out. Maybe it's not. They have a lot of stuff that they've shown and a lot of stuff they've released very quickly. So I respect them for that. They've been a very prolific company in the last year or so. I think that's fantastic. As has New Age, been extremely prolific, and I think that that's fantastic. It was a couple of years ago I said TFCon was a disappointment. Last year, I think, I said, wow, it's blown me away with how excellent everything was and how many reveals there are. This year, it's sort of middle of the road. It's fine. On a scale of 1 to 10, for the reveals that were made here, 5, it's fine. And that's as good as I can give it. I'd love to know, though, what did you think of the reveals from TFCon? Are there things that have been announced that you're extremely excited about because maybe I missed something along the way? It's certainly more than possible. I love to hear from you guys. I appreciate you dropping by and giving me some of your extremely valuable time. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, there is a donation link down in the description. Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. And I very much look forward to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit, either in the live streams or right here inside the videos.